Hey.
Woo! I cut us off quick today. Hang on.
She said we need to dance a little more.
All right. Hello, my
Yes.
friend. How are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to see you. How are you doing? I'm good.
I am well. I'm traveling this week, so we'll talk a little bit about that more when we get into social wellness. But
Yes.
I am delighted to be here with you. I'm happy to take some time and connect. So we've got a big show today.
Yeah,
So
we do.
I'm thinking we should hit our intro and just get cranking. Does that
Okay.
work?
Yeah,
All
it
right, let's
works.
do it.
It works.
Let's
Hi,
do it.
ladies. Welcome back. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of ShealoGlo LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I am your advocate for intentional self-care, body care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself in community care.
Yes, and together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Right?
Yes,
And today we're talking about social wellness.
right on time, always.
This is the one, right? Absolutely. Especially as we're emerging, especially as this is the week that yesterday was the anniversary. It was Tuesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
It
what
was
is
yesterday.
today? So it was
Yeah, no,
yesterday was
always.
the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder.
Mhm.
And so when we talk about social wellness, you want to throw out the definition so our
Absolutely.
listeners can be reminded what we're working from?
Yes. So, like she said, what is social wellness, right? It is about nurturing ourselves, others, and our relationships. Social wellness consists of not only balancing our own physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, but also actively participating as an interdependent piece of a bigger puzzle of humankind.
Right. That's the piece, that interdependent piece
Exactly.
that I think is huge. When we
Yeah.
talk about social wellness, when we talk about social justice,
Mm.
when we talk to our guest today, who I can't wait to introduce everybody to a little
So
later and their work
excited.
in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just check in with each other. How's your
Yeah.
social wellness going?
My social wellness, it's been interesting, but it's been good. Again, this is a category that I talked with my therapist about when I was seeing her at the beginning of quarantine, and actually, it was a therapist before the therapist that I was talking to in quarantine, and we talked about my lack of definition in my social support. So I said, you know what, I should be more intentional about it. So I've been good. I've still been celebrating my birthday, went out a few days ago, and have some dates for June. So I already know what June is going to look like for what I want to do for my circle. So it's good. What about yours?
I love that. Well, since the last time we've chatted,
Yeah.
I've had some outdoor gatherings. I have
Mm.
traveled to Colorado and then Texas to be with my family who I haven't seen in 18 months. So I'm feeling very connected. I'm
Good.
feeling very interdependent. I've been
Yeah.
traveling with my nibblings, who are my 21-month-old nephews. And boy, they're talk about interdependence. When you talk about traveling cross country, we did a 12-hour road trip. So yeah, so having a moment to just do some self and community care with you today and take a
Yeah.
deep breath and, me, reminding ourselves to breathe is
Yes.
important.
So
Yeah.
important.
And I wasn't with my usual folks, my activist folks, for the big anniversary yesterday. Did a little bit of chatting about it in a class I taught, but didn't do the things I would normally do, I think, because I'm on the road and our schedules are dependent on tiny, tiny humans right now.
Right.
But yeah, I'm grateful things are opening back up as far as from the pandemic, and it's weird. Just to be honest, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, but it's fun. I love traveling, and that getting out and seeing the world, I think, is one of the best things for people. So,
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I've done a few personality tests in the different positions I've been in, right? And when we talk about introvert and extrovert, and if we don't know who that is, if our listeners don't know what that is, the way I think about it is people who like to talk to people, and it's an extrovert when you get your energy from being around groups of
yeah,
people in social settings, right? And then an introvert is when you get your energy from spending time with yourself and doing whatever it is that you like to do. That's how you recharge yourself. And I am directly in the middle.
right.
So,
Well, that's an
yeah,
ambivert. Yeah,
an
that's called an
ambivert. Thank you.
ambivert
Yes,
when
that's
you're
true.
both. And I am too.
Hmm.
And my
Yeah.
sister and I were having this awesome conversation on the road trip about now we are both either ambiverts or extroverts. Like we are out there and we're really socially awkward right now as we reemerge. And we're like, how are the people that were socially awkward before the pandemic
That's a good
handling
question.
getting back out there?
That's a
Right?
good question.
Because
Yeah.
it's awkward. It's like you forget how to do this thing called social interaction and wellness because
Yes.
it's been so different for a year and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things I'm excited to talk to our guest about is I'm going to have to read their bio and tell you all
Yeah.
about them, but they
Yeah.
have a community place that they will talk about where they gather artists and to me, when we talk about this with our guest, I want us to do a road trip and I want us to do a social wellness podcast from their location one
Okay.
day in the future.
Okay.
Because are you up for that?
I already told you yes, and I need to go see my esthetician for ShealoGlo in North Carolina, so we can go.
So we're in. Okay.
Yes.
Speaking of ShealoGlo, can you see what
Yes.
I'm doing? Because
Oh, look at your
for
sample.
all our listeners, if you're listening and not watching, I'm
Yes.
holding up a tiny sample package of ShealoGlo because I traveled with it. I wasn't going to
Yes.
travel with my big container, but
Yes.
I traveled. And can I tell you how grateful I am for it, my friend? Because Colorado is desert dry, and then we drove through New Mexico, all desert, and then we're here in Texas, and it is hot. Like, woo,
Hot. Yes.
we went to the Arboretum. We went to the big Dallas Arboretum, the garden outside. And I don't know what we were thinking because we rolled up there almost at noon. And then we're out there from like noon to 3. That was not smart planning at all. But so, all right. I know we've been chatting, but are you ready to bring on our guest?
Oh, let's introduce her. I'm so ready to see. I want to ask her some questions. So yeah, let's bring her on.
Right? Are you ready? Well, I'm going to read. I can't wait, y'all, because this guest I met at a recent conference we were both at, and I knew immediately that I wanted to ask her to come on Women Connected in Wisdom because just ridiculously cool. So here we go. Soteria Shepherdson, known as AM Soteria, is a first-generation college graduate graduating from George Mason University. She is a woman of color who identifies as espresso. She finds herself paving lanes in concrete, identifying as an artivist, which is an art plus activist, a culture shifter, and sustainer. Shepherdson anticipated basketball to be her ticket out, but began sustaining physical injuries in high school that ended her career. Poetry became a therapeutic tool that she used to get out of hardships, connecting early on with the legacies of influencers such as Maya Angelou, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Nikki Giovanni. Her work centers purpose, not in what one is able to do, but in who one was born to become. She challenges stereotypes of colorism, sexism, racism, and stigmas of criminality that she witnessed in her life and through the experiences that have been lived by others, inviting herself and others to be the heroes they've been waiting for. Her recent work encourages courage to move from a place of outraged witnessing to courageous participation in dismantling unjust systems. She uses spoken word, music, and printed work to engage audiences, using her platform to elevate marginalized voices and perspectives through her I Am Soteria and Friends, events, also offering artist compensation, resources, and coaching services as a part of this work. In addition, this one I'm so excited to tell you about too, Shannon. In addition, she and her partner co-own Present Day on Main, which is a local coffee shop in Carborough, North Carolina, that infuses social justice, equity, and hope by diversifying their customer base, being intentional about using art to invite community and justice while making sure things like coffee and tea are served. They work to transform narratives, renaming the business in January of 2021 to Present Day on Main in hopes that we all learn that the past can help us live in the present. They also created a drink called the Good Karen to celebrate the white women who truly believe in equity and justice. This drink was named to also honor their assistant manager's mom, whose name is Karen, for her role in equity and justice. In addition, they were recently awarded by the Orange County Human Relations Commission with the Polly Murray Award for their business, which you can find out more about, and we'll put it in our show notes. So I want to welcome to our stage AM Soteria. Welcome!
Hey, y'all! Oh my God!
Hey,
I was like, "Who is she reading about?" Oh, that's
Guys,
nice.
We're reading about you.
That was really interesting. I'll take it.
All right. Well, it's fabulous. And Shannon, we got to go have a good Karen drink. I got to drink.
Absolutely.
I was about to say, I don't know if I'm gonna have the good Karen. I like the idea. I want to look at the menu. You know, I'm like a connoisseur, so I'm picky.
That's really cool. We have two other cool drinks. We have a drink named after my mom. Her name is Sinider. And then my partner's mom, we have Jan. So it's some really fun specialty drinks.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that you titled them after moms. My shea butter company is about the moms too. Both me and my best friends, our moms were sick, and we gotta honor the ladies. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the moms are what got me here. Random moms in my life, my friends who have kids, connected me to the event where I met Christine. So I mean, I don't know. The world is just so crazy. Shout out to all the moms.
Shout out to the moms.
Auntie.
Yeah.
I got all the auntie juju here, but shout out to you, lovely moms.
Yeah.
Right. It is important. When we talk about social wellness, like when we talk about connection, when we talk about the work you do in the world, I think about moms and aunties and best friends as those social connectors that keep us all on track and going, no matter who we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I can't wait to jump in here and chat about the work you're doing in the world and chat about just so many things. So I wanted to ask you first, what's your why of the work that you do in the world?
Commitment to self-healing and sharing my journey. I think once I realized that when I give attention to myself through all the dimensions of wellness, that naturally the things and the people and the environments around me start to improve. And you know, growing up, I would think that was pretty selfish. And now I think it's one of the most selfless acts I've seen people do is when they attend to their own healing and their own work, and then they can fully show up in the world. And so that would be my why, because I don't think we all know what healing looks like or what it can look like. And that's been a journey for me, and it's been really dope to share it and explore it through basketball at one time, and then, you know, Woe Is Me happened, and then art now. So it's been amazing.
I really resonated with that in your story. I thought volleyball was going to be my ticket, and my senior year, opening game, varsity game, we were warming up. And y'all remember, y'all may not be old enough because I think I'm older than both of y'all, but do y'all remember those in the old gyms where they had the poles that had the big bases on them that were above the ground? Well, I was so excited and I was so pumped that day. I went to jump up to do a block. Well, you know how you do in those where you're going across the net, you're jumping up and blocking and warm up. And I jumped too high and too far over and landed on that thing and wrecked my ankle. So when you read that about basketball, I was like, I so resonated, because I thought I was going to be playing college ball, and nope, it shifted. So tell us a little bit about your poetry and how you weave that into the work you do, because that's how I met you. I want to give a little backstory real quick before you do that.
Yeah, please.
Y'all, I was signed up for this conference and I was like, I'm not going to go. I got too much on my plate. I'm not going to go. I've done enough conferences. And I don't even know. I think I told them I wasn't going to go. And then I get this text the day of the event that says the live event is starting. You need to go. And I was like, oh, I'll just click on that. Whatever. I'm not staying. I'm not going to go. And I click on it. And here's the opening. AM Soteria is doing this beautiful video and opening, really talking about the power of I am. And I can't even remember, Soteria, were men in the video or was it all women?
It was men too. Yeah.
See, I was focused on the amazing women that were in that video because they were like, I am. And I stayed for the conference because of your work and your artistry, because it so spoke to me and the power of that. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And that poetry piece of it, because you did a poetry work in the conference too, poetry workshop. Yeah. Yeah.
It was such a beautiful opportunity. I got started because, again, I was so excited about basketball, and where I'm from, the only way you make it out is athletics or the Army. And I was like, well, I'm not doing the Army. I can't do it. My grandpa did it. And I was like, sports, like I'm going to be in the WNBA. The WNBA had just came out. So I was really like frustrated. It was the days of like Tina Thompson, Cheryl Swoops, and Cynthia Cooper. So I just knew I got my platform. I got my way out. And so those injuries happened. And I have language for a lot of my process now as an older adult. I say that as a millennial, but it still feels older than what I was. But I started to realize like, okay, this isn't, I have to shift where I'm going. And I really started writing my way out of hardships and journaling a lot. And I had someone see like some of my work and they were like, you should share it. And I was like, nobody wants to hear this. This is me ranting and being all sad and woe is me. I swear I was like channeling my Adele, because every time Adele gets her heart broken, her music is lit. I'm like, I'm sorry, you gotta keep being your heartbroken girlfriend, but your music, I'm like, her and Jasmine Sullivan, I don't know what's happening. So that was like my heartbreak. And then, my life became lit in a way because poetry was something that no one could take from me. Having to use your physical being is one thing, but when you can just tune into your spiritual self, and my only job is to spend more time in that realm and create a community that supports and filters who that person is. Like, yeah, it took a while, but I think I finally started to get it.
I love that. And it makes sense too, because like, I feel like the way I think about a lot of, let's say, environments now, or what people do for their jobs, right? When you're applying for a job, I feel like it's a list of characteristics, and how well do you fit into this, let's call it a box, right? How well do you fit into this box? And then the rest of the way we'll train you when you get here, So when we talk about living in your purpose, like your bio was talking about, if your only job is to spend time with yourself and see what that looks like, it's a whole different world, and it helps you come from a different place. Like you said, when you start taking care of yourself, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Ashe, thank you for that reflection and addition.
Yeah.
Right. That's poetry has always been, I was angsty as a teenager. So I started writing poetry really early. Like it was, like you said, like it was a way to deal with your feelings. Right.
Yeah.
I remember one of my first poems being a feminist poem, because I was so mad at what was happening in my church and in my school, and the women and the misogyny that was happening. And I remember writing this, like it was a school paper, but I was like, phoom. And I thought my mom was going to be mad because, she was always kind of tucked in about some of that. So she was so proud of that poem. And I still have it somewhere tucked in a drawer, but tell me, Soteria, you had some poetry around the Women's March, right?
Yeah. So after I realized, like early on, okay, basketball, I'm transitioning. It was such a beautiful thing. I remember the first time I think it was like one of the first times, but the most memorable poem I had, I was mad at people at church. And so I wrote this poem called When You Pray For Me, because my mom was a minister when I was born, and I grew up very religious. I now identify as a spiritual person. But I was so frustrated. As a kid, you can't ask questions. And I'm just like, to kill someone's curiosity. That's another reason I was writing, because I had a lot of questions about the world, about who am I, about who is, God, the creator, like what is the role of the universe. And so I'm taking myself through this journey. And I remember finally I'm brave enough to not just do poetry at church. I do it at this open mic. And I don't do well reading. So I like to memorize my stuff, but I'm really, really also enjoying everything about virtual, because it's allowing me to be in several places at one time, be more creative with videos and all these cool things. And so anyway, I'm up there, open mic. I was like, I'm about to do it. I'm about to bring my Lauryn Hill out. My Maya about to come. I get always through the entire poem. I get to what I don't know is the last line. And I'm on stage. Every emotion comes. I start sweating. I'm a sweater anyway. So now I'm like sweating. I'm nervous. And then finally I'm in the mic. I'm silent. And I was like, I'll be right back. And I run off stage. I go grab my notebook only to have one line left. And it took me a while to just get over that. And I was just like, so like anxious and had shame. And I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing anyway, right? I'm expressing myself. So I'm really not an artist that does, I think I've done 3 slams in my life. And that probably because my friends bullied me into doing it, or they were like, I think you'd be great. And it was cool, but I just don't know how we rate somebody's experience.
Right.
I don't know how I tell you that what you have experienced and what you write is worthy of a 10 or a 1. I think everything is worthy to be heard. And so I don't do well with those type of things. I'm not the type of artist, but being impactful in my own transition and vulnerability, like that's my thing, is like to not just learn a lesson and harbor it, but to learn a lesson and share it. I am not the person where we go down the road and you're like, hey, Soteria, don't go left. And I'm like, you mean left? Go left twice? I'll go left twice. And I got people in my life like that. They're experiential learners. They only learn through experience. I don't want to be that person. I want all the advice, wisdom, knowledge that I can get. And that's how poetry has showed up in my life as well, in every aspect of the work. And so I had been doing a lot of personal events like baby showers, birthdays, weddings. If you get a divorce and you want a poem about that, I don't care. I write about everything. It's been really cool to just see how poetry can help alleviate pain, but also invite in healing, right? And someone sees me. I had done some activism work, and I do a lot of activism work. And there was a woman there who said, hey, I think you should do a women's march here in Raleigh. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That'd be dope. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I ever had. And that's the time that I wrote, You Are the Hero. And then the chorus is, you are the hero you've been waiting for. And as a Black woman, I would go to a lot of forums. A lot of the mentors in my life have been white. And so while I've been very grateful for them, I was like, where are the people who look like me? It's still a different road for me as a Black woman, as opposed to just a white woman. And just as a Black woman, period. Like, we're not a monolith, which I have to say all the time, because we're individuals. And yeah, the Women's March happened and changed my life. There's a video we'll share on the website about that. But one of the most impactful things was not necessarily the crowd, but it's what happened when I got off stage. And it was this one woman in particular, and I say woman, but she could have been a teenager. She came and she hugged me, and she's like, I don't even know who she was or is. And she hugged me and she said, you don't know how much I needed that. And she was crying. And immediately I said, it doesn't matter what I'm not. Who I am is enough. And having that self-affirmation, I'm just learning that. I was talking to a guy today, amazing guy. He's white. And, a lot of my white people got shame around what's happening in the world. And I'm like, listen, you can have shame, but we got to use that privilege. Use it for the good, because, you know, there's these elements of fight, flight, and freeze. And so, you know, people in the world who just want to do good, we freeze because there are a lot of hardships. And even with him, you know, I said, I can work with you similarly to how I did the last client around poetry and how to share your message. But some things is more powerful coming from you by nature of how you were created, you know? And so the work is about sharing, you know, my vision, but it's also empowering people. Like, if we use what we have, y'all, like, really, that's enough.
Right.
Like, if we gain nothing else from this moment, and we literally use everything that we've gained up until this moment, I am 100% sure we would start impacting the world in ways that we had never imagined before.
Absolutely.
The show can be over. We're done. Drop the mic. That's it. She didn't forget her line today, ladies.
No, she did not forget her line today.
Yes, thank you for that.
I wasn't at your Women's March, but I was at a Women's March. My daughters, who are now 19 and 23, they looked at me. I was planning on marching in Atlanta, where I'm from, where we live, right? And my oldest looked at me and said, Mom, this is important. We need to go to Washington. And I'm originally from Texas. Like, y'all, I'd never been to Washington, D.C. And I was like, okay. Because, you know, when my daughters say something, like, I listened, and I knew, I felt, it was one of those things when somebody said something to me and you feel it in your bones, like, about how important something is. So we loaded up and went. And one of the most impactful things about that whole experience was the artists like you, Soteria, because there was the art of the protest signs. There was the art. I belong to a group called Interplay, and we're an international organization. And we did Interplay on the National Mall, and we did art on the National Mall. And so, like, the power of art and activism and the combination of it, I don't know about you, but what I have found in it is community and joy and connection. And it really feeds my social wellness, like what we're talking about today. It is like, I did a poetry workshop this week with an incredible poet in Atlanta, Teresa Davis, in 7 stages, with an organization I'm a part of, Reforming Arts. And we were talking about how you look up the year you were born, or you look up impactful things that were happening in the world. And I've done this in some of my activism work too, and some of my anti-racism work. Like, pay attention to what was going around you when you were born, or what was happening, or things that changed, and incorporate that into your art and your poetry. Because I was always taught from a very well-meaning mom to not speak out and to not be seen, because that's dangerous. Well, it took me years to figure out that the reason why was when I was in her womb, all the activists at Kent State were gunned down. That happened when she had me in her womb. And it was like, well, no wonder she was terrified of me being an activist, right? And working through that, I was just like, that was powerful to figure out, oh, you know, in addition to the backgrounds we come from, what was happening in our world that's influenced what we do or what we don't do.
Yeah. And Christine, that point is, like, of course it's relevant. That's why we could talk about a lot, you know, that's why we decided to do this podcast. But I think it's really interesting with Corona, with us opening back up in the work that we need to do. Like Soteria, you said, that's literally one of the rules I would take to the seniors. So before Corona shut everything down, I was going back to my high school. Shout out to Hiram High School. This Friday is 10 years I graduated high school, y'all. But one of the rules, again, was you have everything you need. So I know a lot of times it looks like we don't. We remember, and a lot of times we run through and ruminate on what we wish we had or who we should be. But if it, like you said, if it's not about who we're not, if it's not about the things we don't have, you already have everything in your hand to get to that next step. So a lot of times, let's talk about environmental wellness, social wellness, and how they can be interdependent, since that's what our definition says today. And when we talk about our parents and guardians and the people who are mentors and teaching us how to be safe and how to carry ourselves as individuals, a lot of times it is their fear of things that the person who told them was fearful of, or the things that they saw before we got here. But we have to remember that's not where we are. You know, now, however many decades later, it's right on time for Christine to be exactly who she was supposed to be, because that story that your mom was fearful of is not your story, thankfully, you know.
Right.
And of course, we should be aware of it. We have to know our history. We need to know the environment that we're in, especially as women. We talk about that. And so for me, social wellness is handling both, knowing the history and the dangers and what's happened and how to monitor and carry myself, but then also knowing that, let me see, I have a quote here. It says, it doesn't matter who I'm not, who I am is enough, right? And having that Soteria quote too, and knowing
that was me.
Both,
Oh,
that was you.
that was you. I wrote it down. We're gonna have a quote graphic. This is a real podcast. I'm taking notes. I got you. I need these notes too, right? But yeah, you know, it can be both. So we can hear the older generation and what they're saying, but still not pick up stuff that's not for us. And that can be interesting when it's our parents, when it's our aunties that, you know, do those things.
Yeah. I love my mom. My mom's a baby boomer, and she still says things like, so you get paid to work from home, that you get like a real payment. And I was like, Mom, yes, it's called remote work. Good God, Mom. No, like, and then my mom was on this Zoom call, y'all, and my mom does not do technology, and she was on her phone, but the woman that was facilitating could hear people talking. So she said, if you're on your computer, I need you to mute yourself because we can hear you. My mom says to her friend, well, she's not talking to me because I'm on the phone. And she said, like, whatever device you're on. My mom's like, I'm like, Mom, I can't. Every time I'm like coming around, I was panicking about the link. I'm like, did I miss it? Did I hit the wrong thing? I was like, why is my mom keeping me bound? Listen, the baby boomers, some of my baby boomer friends, a lot of my friends are much older than me, and I love them. And it's this invitation when you talk about social wellness to do something different. I taught at a local community college here for a while, and that was around a time where the job market wasn't going well, and a lot of them were being asked to leave and retire, and so that they could basically, you know, the companies could pay people less money to do what they did. And it was one of the most heartbreaking things, because for a lot of them, they were only able to identify with what they did and not who they were. And so I feel like this also is very cultural for America, is we judge people by what they do and not who they are. And I think, you know, in and of itself, capitalism is a very privileged place to live in, because even as a Black person and as an espresso person, you know, money does not give me peace of mind. Certain environments give me peace of mind. And then on top of that, now I have an environment, I get to choose my people. One of the greatest gifts I got as an adult was understanding I could create my village, you know? And so, you know, to me, the people that I surround myself with are people who challenge me, but who also inspire me, and they are inspired by me. Last year, it was a reciprocal relationship. I was unwilling to get into friendships, relationships, situationships, any type of ship without being reciprocal. Because, you know, how can someone that is empty pour out if they're always empty? And I think being an artist or a person who wants to quote unquote do good, or you want to see the good in people, you know, that can easily move into this realm of being naive about what is. And I was so sick of having to have, you know, tough conversations with people, and then they abandon me. And I was like, well, you were never my people. If I can't be real, you know, we were just faking it for whatever reason. And so my partner and I both went through a period where we had like no friends, like no real friends. And then all of a sudden we got like so many friends. I'm like, y'all got to schedule me. Get on my calendar. Because I got stuff to do. I got to go talk to Shannon Christine today. We got to do this stuff and make it work.
So Shannon, speaking of that, we got to get on her calendar to go to the coffee shop. I want to talk. I don't want to get out of here without talking about the coffee shop and without talking about the Turning the Tables project, because I am telling y'all, I want to go do this. I don't think I can do this round. I've missed the window, but will you tell us about this incredible project and what's up in this town in North Carolina?
Yeah, so I am in Carrboro, North Carolina. My partner and I have a coffee shop called Present Day on Main. It was a family legacy, and her mom owned it like for a period of time, and we took it over in 2019. It's been such a beautiful awakening. Because of the pandemic, we ended up moving back to Carrboro from Durham. And I remember being on the land and seeing that nothing looked like me. Nothing about this space, even though I was a manager and part owner, it still didn't feel like home. And I want to also note that this is not our land. This is Native American land. And so thank you for the work and the suffering that they had to do. I'm very grateful as a person to be here and to acknowledge that as well. And something that I talk about even from an identity perspective is someone asked me about my citizenship here, and what would I say? And I would say my citizenship is forced, because my people were unwillfully brought here. So I ended up here. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And so I'm thinking about all these things in my identity. I go outside one day and I realized that there was this cemetery we would walk by. And if you stand in front of the coffee shop, if you look to the right, you can see this cemetery. Well, my partner ends up telling me it's actually a slave cemetery. And I was like, get out. So I'm like, okay, what's happening? I'm walking the land as I do. I'm very spiritual, just being thankful for the land and the people that come. And all of a sudden I hear turn the table. And even though we use a table as a symbolism, it's really, how do you turn anything you already have into something better and more intentional? And so we had broken down, some of the wood has already broken from the first project. It was old wood. And I heard Spirit say, turn the tables into murals. And so what I did is I cannot draw a stick figure, by the way. My artistry is singing, poetry. I can do an MC. I can do some corny jokes. I can't draw. So I'm being vulnerable because I'm like, I don't know nobody that's going to come over here and draw stuff. And it was like, the how ain't your business. My goddad talks about that. If you are given an assignment, if you move forward, all the pieces will fall together. And so I did this project. I invited Black artists for the foundation of it to come and put murals on the picnic tables. And what you'll see in the video is how the murals became symbolic to the songs that slaves would sing to say, hey, you are free here. You are welcomed here. There is liberation here. Within 1 week. And so I've really been talking to organizations about getting art on all of their walls and on the picnic tables and trying to make this thing national, because within 1 week, we had Black and brown people come, and they haven't stopped coming. And that has never happened. The majority of our demographic for over 10, however long this the coffee shop was here, has primarily been white. And so it's been so beautiful because the Polly Murray Award came as we started moving more into this social justice realm. We also won an award through the health department, COVID safety award for keeping our employees safe. So our face is on a bus around town, which is like so dope. It's so dope. Polly Murray, and then this bus. And then we're also through the Chamber of Commerce. We've been nominated for a community improvement, or I don't know, some dope award. Sorry, y'all. But and I named that because we try to tell ourselves that we have to live and be successful based on what the world says. Going back to social wellness. This will make you well, Soteria. This will make you well, Shannon and Christine. When we're all individuals. So what could bring me stress could actually make you well. And so this project has started. We're on our second rendition now of this particular one. I've done 7 total. The other were concert forms. You can find out more on my website at IamSoteria.com. But I'm so grateful because we have a Latinx artist, we have white artists, we have an 11-year-old, we have Black artists, we have women, we have men. I mean, people who identify different sexually. I just wanted the world to know that even though the Black artists were the foundation, as America was already born, right? So it's very symbolic, is the more we can engage together in this process of healing and artistry, the more we can actually live in harmony and not be in fear. I always tell the white parents I work with, if I only saw Black people on TV, I would be scared of me too. I'm like, they picked the worst stuff to talk about. The news talk about Black people I'm not friends with. You know what I mean? And so to break this down, these stereotypes, we have to be in relationship with each other. We have to be in community. So this Sunday from 11 to 1, we're going to start that project. You all are the first to know. We haven't even posted about it. Artists will be here. We'll have a videographer. We're going to continue to chronicle. Is that word? Chronologize? Black people make up words. Y'all go with it. Put it in Urban Dictionary. We're going to keep the dates up about everything. I saw you unmuting to help me, Shannon.
Yeah, that works.
My mama gonna kill me. She was like, you had one job. But yeah, so please, we're looking for sponsors. I gotta also thank the town of Carrboro here. They are our first sponsor outside of the coffee shop to get a table, and they sponsored a table for Earth Day. So one of the artists actually painted a picnic table for Earth Day, and that table now lives in a public area with the town. And so the goal is to sponsor these tables because I know what happens when we get together over food and community and music. It is transformative. I've been complimented by racists. I've been complimented by sexists. I've been complimented by white, Black, people of color, people who struggle with who they are. I've been complimented by wealthy people who are impoverished. And that is the power of art and community. And so that's what I want to spread around the world. And hopefully AM Soteria and Friends is coming to a city near you.
Oh, I can't wait. So y'all, it's not just tables either. So like at your coffee shop, you're doing these giant concrete culverts.
Yes.
Can I tell you, that took me right now. I'm sitting on the farm that I grew up on. It's a little farmlet outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And on our driveway, we have these giant concrete culverts that we were not supposed to be in as children, but like that was like our fort. It was like our secret place. And so when I saw this project, it took me right back there to that magic of how sacred being in that little container is. And art, and like we did it with chalk and we did it with mud, and but this whole project lights me up. Soteria, I can't wait to do a road trip and come sit on one of those beautiful tables and look at all the art in your community and drink a good Karen drink.
Yes.
I'm excited too.
Yes. I'm stoked. You all are always welcome. We have coverts this time. We have tables, and we actually have this big storage structure. And so even though the project is called Turning the Tables, again, the table is just symbolic of taking what you have and using it and creating art with that very thing, whether it's your voice, whether it's actual picnic table, whether it's a wall. The first project also included one of the first murals in the town that spoke directly to being Black in a predominantly white space as well. So I'm so stoked, and I can't paint, but I get to celebrate people. That is social wellness. When I tell myself, I don't have to be everything to everybody.
I love that. But making a way for those artists and those artivists. I love that so much. Yeah. I am kind of keeping a side eye on the time because I know we could talk to you forever. But one of the things I want to talk about is this work that you're doing in the world. How do people reach you? Because I'm going to tell you, as a consumer who was at that event, anybody that's listening, if you need an artist to come light up your event, AM Soteria is the one. So talk a little bit about what you are doing out there in the world and how people can reach you, like different ways you use your art to help other folks.
Absolutely. So more information is on my website, IamSoteria.com. You can also find out some information through Patreon. Patreon.com/IamSoteria has talked about the ways that I try to use the funding that comes to me to support other artists, similarly to the project that we're going to start on Sunday. But what I do is I can take your message and amplify it. I pride myself on that because I realize I am not everyone's messenger. So right now, my clientele has consisted of engineers. It has consisted of teachers, of organizations that are in the forefront of education, nonprofits. I've worked with corporate entities, tech industries. There is no limit to me and what art can do. Not necessarily me, because I'll look at a project, and if I'm not the best, artist for it, or if I can't do it justice, I'll say, hey, I know somebody that knows somebody that probably knows somebody that can use that exactly what you have. So, I'm also one of those artists. I'm very intentional, because I know there are so many things I kept myself from because I was afraid of how it sounded. Even if you look at a job description, sometimes you'll count yourself out because you're like, oh, I don't have what they need. That one thing that you don't have, you tell yourself you aren't worthy of it. And so whatever your message is, if it's to bring in more revenue, let's have a conversation. If it's to invite healing into the process of what you're already doing, let's have a conversation. There really is no limit to the consumer. If you have white walls in your house, if you have white walls in your business, I would love to come to you. And part of what I do is find local artists right where you are. And so artists don't have to travel. I really want to uplift the voices right in your neighborhood is what I want to do. So I literally told somebody the other day, I feel like I get paid to be spiritual because it's such a faith thing for me to trust that wherever I go, I'm going to find what I need. And I want to support my clients and my investors to do just that. And so when you invest in me, you invest in equity, you invest in racial equity, you invest in communities and unity. And I'm happy to have conversations. If you're like, hey, Soteria, I don't want to see you, but I want to give you money. Hey, find me on Venmo at I Am Soteria. Cash App, I Am Soteria. Because I get those people too. They're busy. And my thing is like, I don't want to tell people how to invest. Invest is not always money. It's opportunities like this to be able to share with amazing people. It's helping finding funding and taking time to talk to me as a new entrepreneur. Really, really diving into this. I've been doing poetry, over 15, 20 years. I'm aging myself. But this work, it takes something more. It takes my village. It takes people like you to help spread this message. It takes people like, the videographers, David and Elizabeth, who sold their time to help share this story. My partner, who has been amazing to take time to help with all the technical stuff. And so your gift is important. And so the invitation for what I do is to let me make you, if you're already good, let me make you great. Mm-hmm. And if you're already great, let me make you greater. So if I had a little tagline, that's all I want to do is help you get to not necessarily where you think you're supposed to be, but where you were already born to be.
I love that. We will make sure and in our show notes put a link to all of your social media. Wonderful. Y'all check out Soteria's videos, her poetry, check it all out. Because it is so worth your time and you want to be connected to this amazing artist. Shannon, we usually wait until the guest is gone to talk about our wisdom in action, but I know Soteria does a little, I don't know that they call it a wisdom in action, but a weekly call to do something courageous. So I think we should do our wisdom in actions before we wrap for today.
Okay, you go first.
Okay, so we do this every week, Soteria. We say, like, what is, like, talking about the category of wellness, what are we going to do for our wisdom in action this week? What are we going to commit to each other and our listeners to do? So for my social wellness this week, I think I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm supporting my family. I've got, I've got an aunt that's going through chemo right now that I'm supporting while I'm here. And I've got, so my social action is really being present with my family while I am here and connecting with each of them individually and then together as a whole. That's going to be my wisdom in action this week. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll say that mine is doing our graphics for social media. We are in a new season, right? And I would love to add more value online in between us having these talks, right? So I've been thinking about what I want the back of the graphics to look like. I'm really intentional about that. You know that. And Soteria, of course, I'm inspired. I saw the coverts. I didn't know what it was before, but I saw the pictures and said, oh, I know what those are. And they look great. So that's going to be my creative social way that I reach out this week.
So what I ask people, the Turning the Tables project happened shortly after George Floyd was murdered, and a slew of other Black Americans were murdered unjustly. And I was compelled by this notion of courage, because people stood there and tried to intervene, but there were some people who did not have what I feel like they really wanted to have to stop it. And so every week on Friday around 1:00, I will post on my social media, what's one thing courageous you did this week? And I gave the example the first time. It's like, no, maybe you still are not at the point where you can stop, a person from being murdered in front of you. But, maybe like me, the first thing that I brought up was eating an avocado for the first time, or an artichoke, which looks crazy, and you dip it in butter and it's amazing. But it's those small things, courage, starting, to work this muscle slowly but surely. That's how we get to even modalities of what equity and community really looks like. Because again, the social wellness, to me, I'm not well outside of doing my own individual work. And I believe tapping into our courage can help ourselves and even our communities.
I love that. I know it's not Friday yet, but what you working on for your courage in action or wisdom in action for this week?
Oh, goodness. I have two amazing people that I hired. They stay on me. They're in California. Shout out to Morgan and Ebony. Morgan is a project manager. She's a teacher as well. I call her project manager. I don't know what her real title is. She told me what to do, really. And I'll go with it, because Morgan is a teacher. And my partner, Sophie, continues to help. And I name these people because I remember having to do everything by myself, because it's vulnerable to ask for help. It is vulnerable to trust people with your vision, to not, think bad of yourself because you're like, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm just so thankful. So I'm leaning into my village and allowing them to hold me up while I continue to hold other people up. And there is this, I think it's called the NAP Ministry. Shout out to them, because there are so many people that don't believe in rest. And I want to challenge that. And so the ways that I can rest is by helping employ other people to help with this movement. I want it to be a movement. And it's selfish to think that we can move anything by ourselves and alone, or as effectively as if we were all moving it together. So I like talking to y'all, so my bad.
We love it. We're so glad that you came today. Yes. I mean, that's the reason we started this podcast, is have these conversations and to move it forward together, because we're not supposed to do this alone. That's my belief, is we're supposed to do it together. So,
and Christine, I'm gonna pull in the financial part too, because I've been working on my financial literacy, Soteria. And when you talk about business, you're only going to be a small business if you're by yourself. So if you are the type of person, if you're a woman who connects with women in wisdom, and you're, delegating stuff, and you have this huge vision to help communities, and you know that you don't have to go yourself, that sounds like a big business to me. So it's actually necessary, just like self-care, so that the finances make sense. If we're going to help the community, we got to be set up. So I'm so excited for you. I'm looking forward to which coffee I'm going to have when I come, and which table I'm going to sit at. So I look forward to it.
Yes.
I can't wait. Well, we are going to pop you back in the green room, my friend. It's virtual, so there's not good coffee and chocolate in there. But I know you're well taken care of.
Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful. I never take these moments for granted. Thank you for seeing something in me and allowing me to be in your sacred space, and in your wellness, your wellness incubator. So I appreciate you all.
We're so grateful for you. We're going to be connected for a long time, my friends. I can't wait. More soon. Oh my gosh.
Blown away.
So fabulous.
Right?
I feel like this could have been a 2-hour show.
I feel like I need to watch it again. I need to watch my
Right?
own podcast again. Yeah.
Well, I also can't wait because I am going to put in the show notes like all the links to their incredible poetry and events and the
Mm-hmm.
project, the Turning the Tables project. And so we'll put all those in the show notes, and
Yeah.
y'all have fun checking that out because
Yes.
that's going to be
Yes.
incredible.
This
I can't
Sunday.
wait.
And there's so much that she does. I was on the social media earlier, and there's stuff about the marginalized community that's been incarcerated. You talked about that with your reforming arts, you know. So you
Mm-hmm.
ladies have that in common, making sure that you give resources to, well, technically what she does is, if I understand it correctly, let me know if I'm wrong, Soteria, but gives resources to the children of the individuals who are incarcerated. And that's very important. You know, when I think about mass incarceration and the disproportionate incarceration of Black men,
Mm-hmm.
let's pause on that
Yep.
part, okay? Not only do I think about the men, I think about the community, the opportunity cost, the actual money lost from the families that would have benefited the generations, and of course, how it affects all the other categories of wellness, you know? So to do that and art in a creative outlet to make sure that you're well, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and I'm sorry we ran out of time to talk to her about that because, you know, the other thing is how impacted folks that have been incarcerated this year have been because of COVID. And you think about the social wellness piece of getting to go for visitation for the kids and the families, and that didn't happen. That hasn't happened in a year and a half. And here in Georgia, like we could talk about this a whole nother show. It's a big deal, y'all. It's a big deal. We need to have a conversation about this so we can change it. Yeah. So, but I know we're almost out of time. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Tell us about ShealoGlo. What are you up to?
So right now with ShealoGlo, we are up to so much. But what I want to tell you ladies about is the Shayro, right? We talked about the moms, the aunties, the best friend, the ladies that connect you to the things that you need in your life. And that is who we want to honor. So if you have somebody like that in your life, email me at ShealoGlo@gmail.com with the subject title, My Shayro. And if you do that by the end of this month, by May 30th, she's going to go into the nomination, and we are going to announce that next week. We had Brianna as our Shayro last time. She's over nonprofits and went to school to make sure that the nonprofits do what they say they're going to do, and that they're treating their community like they're helping them and not like they shouldn't be. And that's huge for us. You know, we're women connected in wisdom. And so that's our Shayros that we're looking to honor. So go on over and nominate her, and you will see if your person gets picked.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, that'll be exciting. And we'll announce it on next week's show. That'll be super fun.
That will be fun.
All right, my friend, as always, I have enjoyed our conversation, our guest, and I look forward to chatting with you more soon.
Yes. And ladies, don't forget to come back next Wednesday at 5. And in the meantime, be well, be wise, and be whole. We'll see you soon.